Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I am your girl Savannah R, which is Savannah Rockmore. Hey, all right. So, have you ever wondered how to have some of those, challenging conversations with young adults or with your young child? Or if you're a caregiver, aunt, uncle, it doesn't matter. We are a one stop shop. We don't discriminate, even for blended families, because this is 2025 and years to come. But what we want to do is to help you kind of navigate through those conversations and what it sounds like, when you are explaining the fruit of the Spirit. And just in case you are not familiar with the fruit of the Spirit, it is Galatians 5:22-23. And I'm going to read from the Amplified Version. But the fruit of the Spirit, and then it has in parentheses a result of his presence within us, is love, unselfish concern of others, unselfish concern for others, joy, inner peace, patience, not the ability to wait, but how acting while we are waiting, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. 23, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. So as we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, and we talk about being one with God and having the mind of Christ, that also means that we have to teach our young ones how to exemplify those type of characteristics that we want them to have. We want them out here in the world, and we want them to show up in a world, one, with emotional intelligence, two, with biblical principles that goes a long way. So if we are teaching them and modeling before them that type of behavior of what it means to be patient, what it means to be loving, what it means to be gentle. And gentleness is a real big one. And I think that is a real big one here. I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to jump to gentleness really quick. But the reason that gentleness is a big one is because I came up in a generation where I was told kids are to be seen and not heard. I was fortunate to have a parent that was gentle in her delivery, but I found out that the world was not as gentle. And then, even though I had a gentle parent, I wasn't necessarily gentle with my approach with talking to my kids. I always felt like I had to be tough, or I had to speak to them in such a harsh way. And then when they started to model that behavior and yell back at me, I'd be like, well, why are you yelling at me? I'm your mama. Like, you're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do that. But the truth is that I taught them early on not to be gentle, nor did I teach them to have the self-control that I wanted them to have, because as I got older, I became more gentle in what I was saying and doing. Always, having self-control, but at times self-control would be a little tough. So here is just some quick tips and simple language that you could kind of use when you're having those dialogues. A couple of things that I will just give you as tidbits. Always have those conversations in the car, in the morning on the way to school, or even after school, after you checked in, and kind of see how their day went. Sometimes we'd be so busy, maybe, on a phone call, or, we're busy because we just kind of had a long day, or we're trying to get them from one destination to the next because they're involved in so many activities, and we miss the opportunity to be able to have those conversations. I had a lot of conversations with my daughter in the car. The car was the best place for us. Like, we really should have had a whole lot if it was a thing back then. But we had conversations from music to art to friendships. We had crying moments when we went shopping on Saturdays, or, we had conversations as we walked through, the beauty supply, whatever it was. I took the opportunity to just have those conversations with her and to try to instill those core values kind of based upon some of the things that she was experiencing in real time in her life. And because it was a different generation, she didn't experience the same things that I experienced. But we also know nothing is new under the sun. So let's start with, talking about love. Love is the first fruit of the Spirit. We know that God is love. We know that God has unconditional love. I have a hard time believing that we love people unconditional, because we sometimes love people until they do something and then we don't necessarily love them, as much as we thought that we did, or we might not like them as much as we thought we did. But love to me, in the way that it is defined, love is sharing even when you don't want to share. Love is choosing to love even when it's difficult. Love sometimes is saying things that may not be favorable, but it needs to be said. Love is also a posture. So when we talk about the posture, kind of telling our kids like, hey, hold your head up. So, always give people eye contact, if they're comfortable with doing that. But it kind of gives that, direct, kind of stern, and it shows that you are, paying attention to them. It's kind of the same thing that we could say with love being a posture. It's kind of how we show up and how we stand straight up even when it's difficult for us to stand straight up. Even when it's difficult and necessarily people don't love us back in the same way that we think that they should love, but we have to remember everybody doesn't love the same. Everybody doesn't show their love the same. Everybody is not capable of loving on the level in which we want them to love. Joy. Joy is going to be the next one. We want to encourage our young ones to feel or have a joyful spirit. I always say I could be happy with a cookie. Okay. I don't necessarily want to use the word happiness. Every time I looked up the word joy, it always kind of brought it back to happiness. But I just think that joy is just something that is something that truly comes from the Holy Spirit. I believe that joy comes from God's omnipresence just being in us. Joy is encouraging somebody else to be cheerful even when it's hard. Joy, it can be optimistic. Joy can be, just being this gracious person, if you will. Joy can go a long ways. Joy is even, if they lost their football game, they still have a joyful spirit because they had the opportunity to be able to at least play in that game or make it to the championship, or just show how well, they worked as a team, to be able to lock in and to focus and to give it their best. Joy is something that it's really hard to define it, because it's more of an experience, something that you just kind of feel and you just be like, you know what, I feel pretty good. And I really can't tell you why, but I just feel pretty good. And when you have a joyful child, you're going to have a joyful old person. Who wants mean old people? Everybody want to see a mean baby or mean old people? No disrespect. All right, we're going to go to peace. Peace is teaching them how to find peace even when it's kind of noisy, or when they are in situations that can be, when they are in conflict, maybe with another person, or they see two people that are in conflict. How do they be the peacemakers? What's an example of being in a situation where, you could add peace to the situation rather than, saying something negative about a person, or, spreading rumors about people, or saying other things. Could actually be the peacemaker. Sometimes being a peacemaker is not even repeating things that we've heard, or seeing somebody do, but just kind of, for the sake of not angering someone else, is a way to be able to keep the peace. Sometimes when they're in situations where they're really not sure what to do, but maybe breathing, taking some deep breaths and allowing themselves just to let that inner peace just come over them, allowing themselves to have positive thoughts so that they can find that sense of peace when they are faced with conflict. Long suffering. Long suffering is our next one. Long suffering also is defined as patient, maybe for a long time, or especially when things are tough, or, they may have a conflict with, their sibling or a kid at school. The siblings may be fighting over a toy, or who's gonna get the bathroom. We know that our kids fight over who's gonna be in a bathroom longer than the other, and the other got to use the bathroom. So even learning to be patient. Also, long suffering, in the mind of a young one can be really difficult if they lost a loved one or lost their favorite pet. It could be really difficult to explain that they would experience, just a heartbreak. And, a broken heart is not easy to repair, and it doesn't, God doesn't do magic. So, it doesn't repair overnight, but always allowing time between whatever it is that happens, and, whatever it is that happened, allowing time to go past to just kind of start to feel a little bit of relief from the heartbreak or the pain. But long suffering is really difficult to explain to a young person. But long suffering can also be powerful if it's aligned and used with patience. And we have to demonstrate patience too. When they are doing homework and they may not understand, we may get a little frustrated and be like, okay, well, you should know that you've been in school all day. Sometimes it's not that because they didn't pay attention while they was in school, but sometimes it's just simply maybe it just didn't, it didn't process for them, or they needed more, one-on-one help and really didn't know how to explain that. That's where we come in, and we are going to show them patience. We are going to, ask questions so that we can discover what part may be missing for them. It's the same thing if they lose a loved one. We just want to check in and just kind of ask them how they're feeling and be patient with their feelings. I don't think that that grief has an expiration date. We just go through different stages of it. Kindness is going to be the next one. Kindness is very impactful. Being kind to others. As we go out in the world, it doesn't take anything to smile. It doesn't take anything to say hello. I know that we are raising a generation that we are allowing them a safe space to be able to speak, but we also want to teach them how to be kind to others. Be kind to the new kid at school that doesn't have any friends. Be kind to the kid that's sitting by themselves in a lunchroom. You could be kind by maybe sharing a snack, or you could be kind by, asking them their name or their favorite subject. You could be kind just by, giving a slight hello. That's a way of being kind. Kindness is also, kindness and goodness is the next one. But kindness and goodness goes together. Goodness is, doing good deeds for other people. Kindness as well. We want them to be generous in their acts. If they see someone that's struggling with something that they could help with, at a subject that they're a little bit better with, we want them to show how to be kind, patient, goodness. and from the goodness of their heart, that they're willing to extend their knowledge to be able to help somebody else, become stronger in a subject, or help a neighbor that they may see. My son, when he was younger, he's literally seen an older lady struggling with her groceries to get in the front door. She was a neighbor, and he just would go and just help the neighbor. He also seen somebody one time whose car was stalled. He jumped out the car, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He just jumped out the car to be able to go and help that person push the car, and a couple of other people jumped in as well to be able to help that person push their car to the side of the road, so at least they were out the street. That's just demonstrating, those characteristics, the fruit of the Spirit. But had I not taught him those things, and his heart posture, it was naturally his heart posture to want to see and do other things for other people. Faithfulness. God is faithful. The one thing God can't do is lie. He said that he swore against himself because there was nothing higher. God has been faithful. We know that he was faithful with everyone that he came in contact with. But his faithfulness has been demonstrated because he loved his only begotten son, that he would give us forgiveness of our sins and eternal life, right? That's faithful. I don't know if I could be that faithful, but let's take a shot at it. Faithfulness also shows a dedication. It also means that, if we are teaching our kids that, hey, you signed up and you said that you want to play soccer, and now it's Saturday and they want to sleep in, we have to demonstrate patience with them because we're ready and you got somewhere that you need to be in the game. Yeah, is going to start and you need to get up or Steve shower, whatever it is your Saturday routine is or your routine is. But they have to follow through with what they said that they're going to do. Faithfulness is also a sense of loyalty. And not being loyal to bad situations or to bad friends, but loyal in the sense that you're loyal to yourself, that you are going to follow through and achieve what you said that you are going to achieve, whatever goals you set that you are going to follow through, and that if you give your parents your word that you won't be out doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, that that you can truly be trusted in those situations. Celebrate when they are faithful, celebrate when they're reliable, celebrate when they are demonstrating these characteristics: gentleness and self-control. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand too. Gentleness. I talked about being a parent and not being gentle with my kids, kind of teaching them that I had to be rough or tough with them. But I did learn that didn't work. I learned that I had children that I did not need to scream and holler at. They were just in general, just great kids. And I know that everybody, challenges us a little bit different, but I could have really, really gentle parented my children because they did not need sometimes the harsh discipline that I was told that they needed, or that, my generation kind of came up, with that. But gentle parenting, I'm not going to always say that I support gentle parenting 100%. I don't support anything 100% because I believe that there's room for error. And if we think that we could parent 100% anyway, this way or that way, we are really fooling ourselves, because we have to be honest enough to say that we really don't be doing what we're doing a lot of the times, which is why I'm making videos, because we really don't know what we're doing a lot of the time, but being gentle is how we speak, showing gentleness when we hug, showing a gentle voice, speaking to them in such a way that being gentle, it could go a long ways. Because sometimes when we yell, they don't hear us, but when we speak to them in such a gentle tone, their heart is a little more open to hear what we're saying and to respond the same way that they were spoken to. And self-control. Self-control is having those moments of patience. It's really sometimes difficult for younger kids to have self-control because their emotions sometimes, and even adults, let's be real, are unregulated. But self-control is the ability not to put your hands on somebody else because, that's just not what we're doing. Self-control is also being able to demonstrate that it's okay to lose a game. It's okay to have a bad grade. I don't have to kick nobody. I don't have to throw anything. I don't have to be disruptive in a classroom if I don't understand information. But I have enough self-control to ask the questions, to write the questions down if I need to, if I got to ask later. I have enough self-control to say that it's always going to be okay. And I will try again the next time, that I don't have to be easily angered. We have to be quick to listen and slow to speak, and those are the things that, we want to teach our kids. Don't listen to respond, but listen to understand. Listen for wisdom. Listen and be patient while you're listening. All right, friends. So those are the things that we, got for the fruit of the Spirit. Just a couple of things. Remember, when you see your young ones, you're young kingdom heirs. Yes, we're calling them young kingdom heirs. We are not going to give them anything less than God's very best title or God's very best inheritance for their life. So just remember to, help them grow in the fruit of the Spirit, help them to speak peace in difficult situations, help them to monitor, help them to grow, to understand what patience, love, joy, kindness, self-control, and even long-suffering is. How, in everyday situations that they may experience these things in positive ways that they can react. Don't forget, as always, to go out to my website, which I did write a book, Manny and Gabe, Epic Explorations. I got another book coming up with Mia and Ali. And me and Ali are going to be the fruit of the Spirit, the friendship orchard is what we are going to call them. And those characters, what they're doing is teaching how, even through bullying, even through new friendship, even through, just meeting the neighbor next door, which Manny and Gabe became neighbors, but became fast friends. And they became fast friends is because Gabe was very kind, very gentle in his approach. Gabe was the athlete, the outgoing one, but also utilized his voice to be stern and to not let anyone take advantage of Manny, which Manny is more of the science kid. He loved doing the science experiments, a little more of an introvert, but definitely very sweet and kind in his own way. Him and Gabe together have a great dynamic as a friend, in a friendship. They are there when one falls down, there's another one to pick them up. When one, is kind of going through, the long suffering is there. Gabe's, has a dog, Daisy, and one of the books is going to be, Gabe losing his grandmother and inheriting, Daisy as his new furry friends. So we want to teach those biblical principles, but put them in everyday situations and scenarios so that our kids are able to be aligned with God and with the mind of Christ. We always want to encourage them to have the mind of Christ. And as they grow, they'll understand what the mind of Christ is. They'll understand, how Christ didn't see it was an underdog. I know that they want to make it about something else, but Christ looked at the people that had did things in their past. Those are the people that he hung out with. Those were his friends. So that's what make you guys all my friends, because we all got a past. We all did something wrong. We are all going to fall short of the glory, but we are always going to give it our very best. And we definitely want our kids to give it our very best. That's what we are here for. We are here to help you be your very best caregiver, parent, aunt, uncle, brother, friend, sister, whoever you show up at the family barbecue. That's who we want to help you and coach you through those difficult conversations. If you are just a teacher or a mentor or educator or a Sunday school, we want to help you, be aligned with God's principles, and also help the next generation be able to teach the generation after that. We want to build a legacy of young kingdom heirs, right? So follow us on Savannah and Friends .com. You could just Google it, Savannah R and Friends, and my Canva website will come up. Manny and Gabe Epic Explorations is on sale now via Amazon for $13.99. There's also coloring books, I am affirmation coloring books, like telling them that they are enough, telling them that they are worthy, telling them that they are loved, is on sale as well for $8.99. I definitely hope that I make an impact. I definitely hope that, my goal is to continue to provide adults with relatable ways, to be able to have these conversations aligned with biblical principles with our next generation. I wish that somebody had these conversations with me. I was fortunate to have a great mom, but even for those of us that may not have the best relationship with our mom, or have the best relationship, or maybe if you never had one at all, that's okay. Savannah R and Friends, we're going to be your friend, and we're going to help you through it. All right, my friends, until next time, talk to you later.